Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Ched Talks. Tonight on Ched Talks, we were supposed to have a guest. My guest, Dwayne Willis, unfortunately was unable to make it here tonight. I know I apologize to you as the guest and all the people that reached out to me and was eager to hear his story. So I'm flying it solo tonight. Tonight's show is brought to you, of course, by Hookshot Media Productions. They do live streaming and creative video content. And I want to thank them for sponsoring tonight's show. I wanted to continue to talk about our resilience topic. Of course, my guest not being here, I just thought I'd share some of my stories. I think we all have a moment in our lives when we have to display resilience, we have to display some kind of courage, and we have to trudge forward no matter what the circumstances. A friend of mine reminded me of some of the challenges I've had over the years, and I thought I'd share that with you tonight. So many years ago, I know when I first came to this country, of course, we had the challenges of being some of the first immigrants, or in my case, it was one of the first black students in a all-white neighborhood. We had to encounter some challenges with not only racial challenges. I had a strong Jamaican accent because I was here as a child, and of course I hadn't been exposed to anything but our Jamaican patois. So for that, it was a bit of an adjustment. You were ridiculed in class, on the playground, when you weren't familiar with some of the things that people were doing, some of the games. Of course, there were some challenges too. And as we all know, kids can be brutal and brutally honest. In fact, they always say, out of the mouth of babes comes the truth. And for that, I wanted to reach back a little bit and share with you some of my journey. Coming here as a young child, I think I came here when I was 9 years old, my brother and my sister. Came here to a single mother. And yeah, we were in a metro housing type situation, or in some case, people may call it government housing. Now, those presented some challenge, but I wanted to share with you today about some of the people that I met on my journey and some of the things that I had to go through. And what I want you to do as my audience, hopefully I'm encouraging some of you, but I also want you to write in, ask any questions that you may have. If you want to talk about something in particular, I will be glad to share and start to talk from my perspective. This is Ched Talks, of course, and a lot of the conversation comes from my own personal experience. So back in the early 70s when I first came to Canada, I was in school, and of course, with a single mom, her duty was to try to provide for us. Yes, at times the challenge of just that was sometimes extremely daunting, right? But you never gave up. The one thing I can recall specifically is the first time that someone called me the N-word. And of course, not knowing how to handle that because I hadn't been exposed to that before, it resulted in me going fisticuffs, and of course, it was not a great thing that it wasn't the best way to handle it. Over the years, I've had to learn how to handle some of those kind of situations. Then after a while, it just became another part of another challenge and an easier way of handling it, which I had to then pass on to my children, and hopefully some days we don't need to have to address those kind of issues. But I remember one particular situation where I think I had to show some resilience, getting to the point where I had over 30 years of corporate experience, and of course some successes, and then bring it to the point where I can start my own business and have a phenomenal crew of people working with me. I encountered my guidance counselor at that point. I think I was 17 years old. We're approaching the point where we're approaching, I guess, adulthood. From a teenager, you're going to adulthood. And the next step and the next phase in my journey was looking for a university or college or what you're going to do after school. Now, I recall going into my guidance counselor, and she sat me down, and I was looking for all the advice I could muster because I was a little confused. Now, I asked her specifically, I said, well, you know what? I know what I want to do. And she says, well, what is it that you want to do? And I said, well, I want to be a business owner. At that time, I had first read Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was a book. It was one of the first books that really affected me in terms of looking for something more in the future and looking for ways to navigate the business world. And after reading that book, I was convinced that I had the skills to be able to have a successful career as an entrepreneur. Now, after sharing that with my guidance counselor, what I was looking for at that point, now in retrospect, when I look back at it, what I was looking for is someone to say, okay, here's how you approach it. Here's the challenges that may come with it, and here's how you're going to be able to combat it. But instead, what I heard was, you know what? Your parents doesn't have that kind of money, so I think that's a little bit far-fetched. I don't think that you should go and try to be a business owner. And when I look at your school, well, you were okay, you had okay marks, but I don't know if university is the right path for you. And so at that point, I was dumbfounded, and I walked out of the guidance counselor's office completely shattered. I had no idea where I was going to go, what I was going to do. I was a 17-year-old boy looking for the next step, looking for someone to bail me out. Now, of course, I did have my mom who, again, like I said, did everything she could and worked extremely hard to put us through school. And what I did find out was that, there wasn't a lot of resources outside of that. She was too busy navigating her own life with 2-3 kids and trying to figure out a way to put bread on the table. So this was something that I had to find a way, find a challenge, find a way to get past this challenge. Fortunately, I was really good at sports, and I had acquired the skills to be able to communicate effectively with people. And most of the accent had left me. So at that point, it became a little bit easier. So here I was, 17 years old, have no clue what I was going to do. I started seeking out, asking people, what do you think I should do? And then I didn't have the money. I got accepted in university, but I didn't have the money to pay for it. So then I had to find another way. At that time, I went and seek OSAP, or for most of you are not familiar, it's just a school loan or grant to go to university. And at that point, I was rejected. They told me, and I distinctly remember this, and I have no problems in sharing that at this time. I remember, I think my mom was making something like $13.75 an hour and 3 kids. And I recall that conversation when they told me that my mom made too much money for me to qualify to get a grant. Now, that was really enlightening, and it really shook me because I had no idea what to do at that point. But again, I fell back on my sports, and I was able to get someone to help me navigate the ways for junior college or college, and help pay for college through OSAP, a loan, which I was later have to pay back. Now, some of you out there, some of you may have kids, or some of you may be going back to school, or whatever you're doing. There's always a way to overcome some of these challenges. And don't always accept, I think that's my message, don't always accept what other people tell you as gospel. We sometimes, are given wrong advice, or sometimes are given information that is not necessarily going to be for our journey. What we have to do is look past that, look at the challenges, and find and seek other ways around it. What did I do then? Well, to be honest, I went into college. I played basketball, and was quite popular in school. And right out of college, then went and seek a job. And now there were some stories and there were some cheeky ways that I had to find work. After I finished college, I can share this with you. I had no way of, I had no experience. So everywhere I went, they told me I had no experience. So I remember one time walking downtown. I was on Yonge Street, and I was walking with a bunch of resumes and giving them out. And I just couldn't, it wasn't successful. It wasn't working. So I entered this building where I saw the name on the front door, and I saw the president's name on the front door. And I thought, this is a way I'm gonna get this job. I'm just gonna walk in there and pretend I know the president. Well, once I walked in there, someone was at the front desk, and it turns out there was no one. So I'm sorry, there was no one at the front desk. So I saw the name of the president, and when someone did eventually walk to the front desk, I told them, look, I'm the friend of the president. And so this guy looked over and said, oh, you are? And I go, yeah, can you tell him that I'm out here? And he goes, well, he's not here right now. He goes, oh, I said, oh, that's too bad. Where is he? Can I speak to the manager? And she says, well, and this guy was the guy that came to the front desk. And he says, well, you know what? I think I know the president. His name is Walter. And I think I am the president. My name is Walter, and I've never seen you before in my life. So it was actually a funny situation. And we turned out we had a pretty good conversation. I made light of the fact that I had a hole in my shoe and couldn't find a job because everyone wanted experience. So he went on to share some things with me, and I begged him for a job, and he said, well, you know what? The truth is we only have experienced people here, and I can't really help you. And I offered to work for free. Now, obviously I wanted to determine and want to establish a relationship, because, once you have a relationship with someone, sometimes it's easier to get a foot in the door. Well, he did give me a chance. He said, okay, you know what? You can come, you can work with someone. I'll have someone meet you on Monday, and you can work with us to get some experience. Now, I can tell you after a week, after 2 weeks, I was able to successfully be hired onto that company and stayed on there for about 1.5 years. Now, that did take some resilience. It did take some courage. And even though I didn't know what I was doing at the time, it was easy for me once I got in there. So just taking a chance, making an effort, jumping, and just kind of be bold was what got me through my first job. I later on went on to become the head sales for a cruise line later on that year. So it was something that I was very proud of, and it served me well. I went on to get other jobs as a result of that first experience. But when I look back at it, I didn't think of it as resilience. And when I look back at it, I had challenges and I had things that were difficult. This pandemic has been difficult, and we all have challenges. We all have things that we're thinking, geez, am I good enough? Or am I not good enough? Or what is it that I have to do? And sometimes we have the skills, but we just don't have the courage, or we don't have the discipline. I always say that, it takes, we can have just about anything we want, and we have the capacity to be able to achieve it. But do we have the capacity, and do we have the discipline to follow through? I think that's the thing that we got to see. We have to set patterns. We got to set habits, good habits for ourselves, and try to approach it and go on and achieve just about anything that you want to achieve. And those are some of the things I want to share. Now, looking back with that situation with my guidance counselor, it's something that I could have taken as a point that something that wrecked my life. I could have looked back and say, you know what? I can't achieve any success because of this, or I can't achieve any success because of that. That's what oftentimes we do, and we've all done it. But I maintain that if we truly, truly want something, and I know life experiences and some of the choices that we made sometimes derail you and throw you off your path. And sometimes people do things to us, maybe accidentally, maybe not intently, maybe intently. But sometimes we have to look for forgiveness of ourselves. And once we forgive ourselves for even falling for those things, or forgive ourselves for the mistakes or the choices that we've made, and then we have the discipline to get past it, I guarantee you there's only good things at the end. My guest tonight was going to share some of those stories. Now, I can tell you that he's a gentleman that that was born into a certain life that I could say that he could have said, you know what, this is my life, and I am just going to do whatever the hell I want, and end up in wrong situation the rest of his life. And I got to tell you, there was a good part of his life that he would have shared with you tonight that was a challenge. And he went on to live a reckless life, but at the end, he persevered. And he became a champion of his own life. And now the results that are looking forward are looking at more successful, and that's going to be more fruitful for him and generations to come. Point of that, again, is to don't be defined by your past. Don't be defined by your mistakes. Let those help you to shape a better future for yourself. I'm not here to preach to you tonight. I am just here to share that if we are all seeking resilience within ourselves, which we all have it, no matter where it is or what it is that's happened to you in your life, if we look a little past it, it could be relationships, it could be trouble with our loved ones, it could be trouble with our kids, whatever those are, it could be some mistakes that we made. Please fight for your future. Don't fight for what's happened in the past. Use the past to help you look for a better future. Those are the things that we can do to make things better for us and for the generation to come, right? So I am going to rest right now, and I'm going to look forward to having some of your questions. If there are any questions, please feel free to forward them, and I'll do my best to answer them. Now, someone says, looking back, what is something that you would say to your younger self? That's an awesome question. Well, I've been asked that question before. What I would say to my younger self is that, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to take risk. Don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. And don't ever let anyone determine what your future is supposed to be. That's what I would say to my younger self. Now, some of those I found out later on in life, but I guarantee you it. If I was to have that conversation with my younger self, I think I would have achieved some of the things that I wanted a lot faster. But as they say, nothing before it's time. Thank you, Arlette, for that question. Let's look. Doreen says, have you overcome challenges due to the pandemic? Well, yeah, that's a good question. I think most of us have overcome challenges due to the pandemic, but me specifically, most of you may not know, but I opened up this beautiful facility just a few years ago, and it was called VR Planet. We were on cutting edge technology, and we were just forging a path in the community. Now, 2 years in, we're just starting to flourish. We're looking at return customers. People were starting to establish ourselves in the community, and due to the pandemic, of course, we had to close down. We've been closed now as a virtual reality studio for a year. March 14th was a year. Now, 2 months in, I realized that this was something very serious, of course, and we had to change direction. My major challenges was we still have landlords that are looking to be paid. We still have bills that are looking to be paid. Like most of you, it was a difficult time, and I had to do something. So we quickly, the buzzword of the year was pivot. So we quickly pivoted. we changed and focused more on our content creation side of our business, which is Hookshot Productions. We do live streaming events, and of course, we do creative video content. We aspire to change the world by presenting our clients with out of this world visual technology. Now, that means we're bringing it to a new level where technology, when you look at virtual reality, augmented reality, it's going to be out of this world, and we are at the cutting edge of that. And I thank you all for your support. Anybody that understands that, and anyone that's ever promoted our business, I think they understand where we're going with it. Thanks for that question, Dwayne. Any other questions? No? So we're 21 minutes in. You know, I didn't prepare anything, but I do really want to thank you, whoever that's joined me tonight. I'm asking if you have questions. I'm going to give it some more time and you know, answer any questions that I can certainly look forward to sharing some other things with you. I have another question. When you don't know something, fear always steps in. What do you say to a young person growing up now in this new world? Oh, wow, that's a tough question. Okay, what do I say to someone in this new world? Well, you know, when we were growing up, technology wasn't what it is today. And technology has really closed the gap in terms of speed, distance. I really used to study the different generations, and of course, you have the greatest generation, which is the generation that predates us, which is the ones that were during the First World War, and of course, you have the ones in the '60s that are baby boomers, and then obviously Gen X, and now we're talking about millennials, which are some of my favorites. You know, some people, they get a bit of a bad rap because we try to compare them to Gen X's or baby boomers. The younger generation now, they have the challenges because they're governed and ruled by some of the technology, and the speed of things, the way things happen, they tend to compare themselves quite frequently to others. Obviously, people are not always putting their defeats, their losses on camera. They're usually putting just their wins or perceived wins. You have celebrities that are coming out and they're showcasing how much money and how much girls and how much they have. And some of them are quite empty inside. They're not displaying the love, the loss, the tragedy, and some of the things that they're going through. Now, I always promote that, yes, you try to be positive and you promote some of the positive things, because sometimes we're so caught up on the negatives that we forget to celebrate our victories. What I would say to the younger generation is that, yes, celebrate your victory, but slow things down. Everything has its own agenda. It has its own calendar. And what we have to do is understand that life is a journey and it's not a race. We're not always going to achieve the things that we're looking for at the pace that our neighbors or friends are. So if we look beyond that and say, look, you know what? I have a good relationship with the people around me. I have a good relationship with finances, which is something that we're not taught, is our relationship with money and finance. And I have a good relationship with myself. If you have those things, I'm telling you and I'm guaranteeing you that you will be centered enough to be able to handle just about any situation. And as situations come at you, these are where challenges come up and people fall off. Now, we all fall off. We all have moments in time where we're going to want to sleep in, or we're going to want to just take a week, or we're going to want to take a day, or we're going to feel defeated. I say go with it. Take those days, take the 2 days, but get up, get back at it, jump on the horse, and start to fight and start to trudge forward again. You know, this life that we're given it can be short. I've had friends that gone long before me. I have a great group of friends. I may add. I think I should mention some of them on this moment here. I have some friends that I've had over 40 years. A lot of them I've grown up with, and in fact, a lot of us are still in a chat group on WhatsApp, and we share some good stories. One day I may bring them out here, and we can all talk about our journey, and we talk about some of the great things that we went through, and we can talk about some of the challenges that we've all had and how we've helped to bring each other through. And I really want to shout those guys out. They know who they are. I don't have to mention them by names, but it's a great group of guys that I grew up with in the suburbs at Scarborough. So shout out to those guys. And it just goes to show you that, you know, we never travel the journey alone. We have people around us that it's funny, you always hear people that are mentioning how they're self-made millionaires, but you never heard of a self-made failure. When people fail, they always have someone to blame it on, something to blame it on, a path to blame it on, a mistake they made. But, you know, when they succeed, they say, you know what? I did it all by myself. I never read a book that says, you know what? I did this, you know, I failed because of me. You know, there's always something. So I want to acknowledge those guys because, you know, I feel that I have had some successes in my life, and I really appreciate that because of my family, the loved ones that are in my life. And of course, you know, some of those friends that I have from way back, and I appreciate them for that. And, you know, those are the people and the things in our lives that help us be resilient. Any more questions? Can you talk a bit more about your passion for coaching? Ooh, yes, I can. Thanks, Doreen. You know, you're pulling it all out of me today. So I do have a passion for coaching. I think somewhere back I discovered that I have, you know, I think it's just because of some of my own life experiences, I've developed a passion and a keen sense of sharing my experiences with people and helping them through some of their challenges, whether it be relationships or individual challenges. I like to say, people call it life coach, but I like to call it more just experiences, life experiences, right? I'm always afraid of that term coach because it puts such an official title on it. I just say a coach friend, I like to call it. So because of that, I've had, you know, a few people that have leaned on me for advice in some of these situations, and I try to do my best to point them in the right direction. If it's something beyond my control, of course, I try to send them to someone that's qualified, maybe clinically, to be able to assist them. But outside of that, yes, I do have a passion. Not only did I coach sports, but also, like I said, in some of these friendship coaching, and help people through some challenges with friends, family, loved relationships, marriages, whatever that case is. And I welcome the opportunity for anyone who has any kind of questions. You know, I'll gladly help to field them right here, right now. There's nothing that's new in this planet. Not that I'm ancient, but I think I've lived a little bit of life that I can draw on some of my experiences and some of the experiences of others that I've learned from to help. No questions? Wow, I like this. If my guest was here, what kind of questions would you ask him? It's a gentleman who went through, like I said, he was born into the life of a hustle. And that hustle turned into dealing of certain pharmaceuticals that may not necessarily be legal, and some other products that we may not even want to discuss here. I think it has to come from his mouth. And we're going to reschedule that. And he's a quite dynamic guy, and of course, you know, has a real knack for sharing his story. And it's something that I think he's unapologetically speaking his story. And I think we all have to confront our stories, confront the things that happen. I always say to people that if we want to have success, if we want to help our children succeed, our children look onto us as our heroes. If we truly want to help them succeed, we have to share our failures. They can't think that we're impenetrable because that's not achievable. And if they think it's unachievable, they'll fall back. They'll falter because they say, I can't achieve mom and dad. I can't achieve their status. So you may not necessarily have to get into all the details, but I urge you to share some of your mistakes with your kids, your grandkids, your nieces and nephews, and have them understand that it's okay to make mistakes as long as they continue to look forward and don't settle on just being defined by their mistakes. No more questions. Okay, I want to wrap it up. I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. I again apologize for my guest not being here, but I think we had a great time. I want to say good night to you all and look forward to ChedTalks next week. Actually, I can mention my guest, but I'm going to make it a surprise. I will send out something shortly to, I think everybody wants to tune in for my next guest. She's going to be fantastic. On the 31st, we will introduce her. So there's one more question. Okay, I'm sorry. Question. Who is your role model? Oh my gosh. Okay, so who's my role model? My role model, believe it or not, is my mother. Okay, so here's someone who showed more resilience than anybody that I've met personally. Well, that I grew up with. She came here as a single mom, you know, like I said, 3 kids and battling the odds, right? She got jobs, whatever, survival jobs, until she was able to bring us as kids here. And, you know, obviously helping us to navigate the waters. Now, my mom's tough as nails, funny as hell, and is able to bring a smile to anyone's face and has a heart of gold. So that kind of gave me the foundation to be able to look and say, you know what, if I can be half what she is, then, you know, I would have succeeded. And today, you know, maybe I don't say it enough, but I strive to be as good as she is someday. That's my role model. Now, if you look beyond that, that's someone that everyone may know. The only other role model I had was Muhammad Ali. That was someone that from the age of 18 was conscious enough to throw away a gold medal into the river, because he felt that there were things greater than a gold medal that you had to fight for, and that didn't define who you are. Being a human being spelled more than just being a great athlete or being a celebrity. It had something more to do with fighting for what's right, making the tough decisions. And I think I did a post not too long ago that some of the toughest decisions that we have to make, is, the right decision is not ever going to be easy. They're going to be some of the toughest ones. So yeah, those are my role models. Thank you. So I want to say to you tonight, good night, and we'll see you again next week. ChedTalks out.